The F1 circus headed to the streets of Singapore for this weekend's Grand Prix, and it was Hayden Gullis who gets pole position under the night sky, making it a hat-trick of P1 starts. Danny Kvyat lines up alongside Hayden Gullis on the first row of the grid, with Jenson Button and Carlos Sainz just behind them on the second row. Looking further down the field, and Ferrari's improvement continues as Kimi Räikkönen gets into the top 10 once again, qualifying in P8. Max Verstappen just outside the top 10, exactly where he qualified in the Italian Grand Prix. And we all know what's happened there. We got his first race win of the season. Can he do the same here today? Only time will tell. Nico Hülkenberg and Pascal Wehrlein were unable to take part in Q2, unfortunately for those two drivers, as they start in P15 and 16 respectively, which is good news for our championship leader of Hayden Gullis, who's going to have a huge advantage over his teammate of Nico Hülkenberg. Can he improve that advantage though? Let's find out as we head over to the race for the Singapore Grand Prix. What is up, people, and welcome to part 78 of my F1 2016 career mode here at the Singapore Grand Prix. It's round 15 of season 4, and we are doing a really good job so far in this season 4. We are still leading the Drivers' Championship over our teammate of Nico Hülkenberg, which I can be really pleased at. Yes, I probably would like a few more points at this stage of the season, just to sort of increase that gap and have a bit of a cushion, but we can't really complain too much. We're beating Nico Hülkenberg, and we are exactly where we wanted to be. We got pole position yesterday around in the qualifying session. There we are, lining up at the front of the grid ahead of Danny Kvyat, who lines up alongside us in second. So really good qualifying session. There's Daniel Ricciardo down in 19th on the grid, of 141.7. Not a good day for him in the Red Bull car. But there we are, 140.0, nearly getting into the 139s. And just like the Italian Grand Prix, hopefully we can do that next season. So before we get into today's Singapore Grand Prix, let me take you through the starting order. It is myself lining up in pole position, like I said, just missing out on the 139s there. We beat Danny Kvyat to pole position by 3/10 of a second, though, as he lines up alongside us in second place. Jenson Button and Carlos Sainz make up the second row of the grid, with Fernando Alonso in 5th, and Kevin Magnussen down there in 6th position. He has his teammate Jolyon Palmer behind him in 7th, with Kimi Räikkönen 8th. There's Romain Grosjean into the top 10 in 9th place, with Ria Haryanto also making the top 10 shootout. Max Verstappen lines up in 11th place, getting that free choice of strategy, so expect him to be up at the front once again after he won the Italian Grand Prix last time out. Then Esteban Gutierrez lines up alongside him on the 6th row of the grid. We have Lewis Hamilton and Felipe Massa in 13th and 14th, with my teammate Nico Hülkenberg and Pascal Wehrlein down on the 8th row of the grid. Both those drivers, for some strange reason, did not take part in Q2, so that's why they're down in 15th and 16th place. Then we have the drivers who did not quite make it into Q2. Sebastian Vettel, disappointing qualifying session once again for the German driver, with Nico Rosberg 18th, Daniel Ricciardo 19th, Felipe Nasr in 20th, then Marcus Ericsson and Valtteri Bottas make up the final row of the grid. So that's your starting order ahead of today's race. Let's head down to the track for the race strategy. It's race strategy time then ahead of today's Singapore Grand Prix. It's going to be a fairly simple one. I'm going to stick with what the team want me to do. Start on those ultra soft tyres, go for another set of ultra softs, and then go for a set of super softs by the end of the race. We are going to whack our fuel up, just so we would like to have a bit of fuel spare. Maybe a bit too much we put on there because, you know, it is Singapore. You don't want to run in rich mix too much, but that is what we're going to be doing for today. So let's head back to the starting grid for the Singapore Grand Prix. Here we are then on the grid for round 15 of season 4. The lights coming on now. It's 5 red lights, lights out, and away we go for the Singapore Grand Prix. It's a great start there compared to Danny Kvyat, but Jenson Button getting very up close behind us, down in towards turn 1. We take the around the outside, down in towards turn 1, 2, and 3, and looks like we've held on to the lead of the race so far. A good start to the Singapore Grand Prix, holding on to the lead of the race, exactly what we wanted to do here, going through turn 5 now, and there we go, having a slight lead over Danny Kvyat and Jenson Button. We are a lot quicker than both those guys in a straight line, so they shouldn't really be challenging us down in towards turn 7 now, and looks like no, they haven't, down in towards this left-hander, and there we go, holding on to the lead of the race, something that we can be very happy with here around Singapore. You know, it is a street circuit. It is easier to overtake around here than it is like around the likes of Monaco, but still, overtaking is quite difficult, as Nico Hülkenberg may be able to prove me wrong here as we go through the final 2 corners of the lap. Down onto the start-finish line, he will get DRS down in towards turn 1, pulls over to the left-hand side, side by side with, is that Kevin Magnussen? Yes, it is Kevin Magnussen, not Jolyon Palmer, and there he goes, moving up into another position. Well done, Nico Hülkenberg, getting past the Renault driver there as we cut ahead now to the end of lap 6, as I'm now under pressure from Danny Kvyat going through the final couple of corners now. across the start-finish line. Danny Kvyat, will he pull over to the left-hand side? Yes, he does, doing a similar move to what Nico Hülkenberg did. We're just going to back off for it because we know there is another DRS zone. There is another chance for us to get back the lead of the race on this lap. So we're going to follow behind Danny Kvyat for now. We're just going to tuck in the slipstream as we go through the next couple of corners and just stay right on that rear diffuser. Stay as close to Danny Kvyat as we possibly can. We've got the DRS now. We've got the slipstream down in towards turn 7. There we are, pulling over to the left-hand side, under braking side by side with Danny Kvyat. We squeeze each other as much as we possibly can, giving him just enough room there to stay on track. And there we go, moving back up into the lead of the race. We lost it momentarily, but we still managed to hold on to the lead of the race. And there we are on lap 7, holding this position. But we can head to the end of lap 7 now, and it's time to make our first pit stop in this race. We make just about making the pit limiter there, coming down towards the box. And we'll be looking for a good stop here from the Force India team. We are pitting at the same time as Danny Kvyat, so we need to make sure that Danny Kvyat has a slower pit stop than us, and it looks like we've got the better job of him. A 2.7 stop there from the Force India team. It's not amazing, but at the end of the day, it isn't exactly the worst pit stop I have seen even. We're going to come out down in 13th position at the moment. May lose position to the McLaren, which we do, and possibly even a Renault that's running behind us down in towards turn 3 now. And yes, we do. We just miss out to Jolyon Palmer there on the end of lap 8. A little bit disappointing to lose out to the Renault driver, but we are going to be quicker on this fresher set of ultra soft tyres. So hopefully we can get back at him very, very soon, as we're following in the slipstream at the moment. But we cut ahead to the end of lap 8, watching on board with the other Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo now as he goes through the final sector. And disappointment there for the Red Bull driver. He's out of today's race with a huge engine failure, pulling off to the edge of the circuit. It does mean, however, for our own race, that we are going to be gaining a position. So we should be overtaking him very, very soon. And there we are, going through the right-hander. And there we go, moving up into P14. Now getting ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who is currently out of today's race. Right behind Jolyon Palmer, though, as we go underneath the stand section, through the last couple of corners, through the last couple of chicanes now. And we are very, very close to the back of this Renault, showing that we are eager to get past him as soon as we possibly can. We're most likely going to go and do it down this start-finish straight, following in the slipstream and the DRS, pulling over to the left-hand side. Yes, we do. There we go, down in towards someone, inside line, under braking, and just about getting it turned in time. But there we go, taking position away from Jolyon Palmer and moving up into 13th place for the time being. Here we are, cutting ahead to the end of lap 10, following behind the McLaren driver of Jenson Button. This is, yes, Fernando Alonso is a lot further up the road, and here we are right behind Jenson Button. Can we get the overtake down in towards turn 7? Not quite able to get the overtake there on Jenson Button, just not close enough, but putting ourselves right behind the McLaren driver. We're going to have a little look up the inside in towards turn 8. There we go, up the inside, Jenson Button side by side though, still with the McLaren driver. We brake a little bit earlier, get the switchback move on Jenson Button, and what a move there in towards that left-hander just before the Singapore sling, just doing a little bit of a switchback move over Jenson Button, and there we go, getting the better of the McLaren driver. And up next for us is Nico Rosberg in the Mercedes. So what can we do to get past Nico Rosberg? We're going to go for another sort of switchback on the hairpin, get a good purchase, a good exit out of that corner, down in towards this right-hander. Nico Rosberg currently on the soft tyres, so he's on the slower tyres. We've got much better grip as these old softs are quite fresh as well. And there we go, up the inside of Nico Rosberg. Fairly simple overtake compared to what we did to Jenson Button. There we are, gaining another position and once again back up into the points. We cut ahead a little bit further into the race on lap 13 now, right behind the Haas driver of Esteban Gutierrez. And just look how close we are as we go into the stand section, pretty much pushing Gutierrez along on this circuit right now. That just shows the pace currently in this Force India. I'm absolutely loving the way this car is handling around this circuit. I mean, I am having to fight it quite a bit, but that just makes it so much more enjoyable that I'm still able to keep it on the track, but at the same time, I'm still fighting the car just enough to keep it enjoyable. So go over to the left-hand side, up the inside of Gutierrez, moving up into P6 along the way as a few drivers come into pits as well. And there we go, bumping ourselves up into P6 and gaining another position in today's race. And so far, it's going pretty well, but we need to watch out for Max Verstappen, who is on a different strategy to us. I think he's doing the one-stop strategy, so we do need to watch out for that. And here he is. Here's Max Verstappen. He has recently come into the pits on the end of lap 15, start of lap 16. He's going to come under pressure now from a Renault of Jolyon Palmer, I believe this is. He goes up the inside in towards turn 7. It's side by side at the moment between him and Max Verstappen as they go in towards turn 8. They're still side by side. Max Verstappen not giving up easily. He squeezes Jolyon Palmer onto the exit of turn 8 down in towards turn 9, still side by side between the two drivers. Who's going to have the better exit out of that corner? It looks like it's going to be Max Verstappen, and there he goes, holding on to the net lead of today's race. Jolyon Palmer just having to settle behind Max Verstappen for the time being, as it looks like a Ferrari is also getting involved as well. Not too sure which one that is, but I think it is Kimi Räikkönen, not Sebastian Vettel, but I'm not too sure at the moment. As we cut ahead to the end of lap 16 now, I'm right behind a McLaren, but we are making our second pit stop of the race, and it's going to look like Max Verstappen's strategy could definitely work out, as we only just there get the car slowed down for the pit limiter. Coming into the pits now for a new set of tyres, a fresh pair of wheels. And here we go, going on to the set of super soft tyres, which will take us quite a while into this race. I'm not too sure whether I'm going to be taking this all the way to the end of the race. I think I'm going to try and take this set of super soft tyres all the way to the end of the race. Unfortunately, it was a 3.0 second stop there from the Force India team. Not the best, but I think it hasn't really changed too much as we've come out in some clean air behind a Ferrari driver. The Ferrari driver is quite a bit up the road, so we have to put in a few quality laps now to try and catch up to, I believe that is Sebastian Vettel, but at least we've got some fresh air. We're going to push on this new set of tyres and hopefully try and catch up to Max Verstappen as well. As Rio Haryanto, he comes into the pits, so do a couple of other drivers, including the McLaren of Fernando Alonso, who was just ahead of us as we came into the pit lane. We're going to go side by side in towards turn 2, but a better purchase out of that corner. And there we go, moving up into P13. So the undercut has worked over Fernando Alonso. There's more drivers coming to the pits here on lap 19, down in towards turn 1, and we move up into P9 in the Singapore Grand Prix. Getting very close now to Sebastian Vettel. So what can we do against the Ferrari driver? Are we close enough to go for a move? Not quite yet, as we cut ahead to the end of lap 19. More drivers coming into the pits now. Well, only Felipe Nasr, but we move up into P8, right behind Sebastian Vettel though. So can we get past the Ferrari driver? Down in towards turn 1, braking very late compared to Sebastian Vettel. Nearly going into the back of him, but just about managing to avoid the gearbox of the Ferrari driver. Down in towards turn 5 now, right behind Sebastian Vettel. Can we get him through this DRS straight? Down in towards the kink of turn 6 and in towards turn 7. Will we go to the left hand side of Sebastian Vettel? Here we go, over to the left hand side, up the inside of the Ferrari driver. Just about Massa locks up, he gets it all wrong, and there we go, gaining 2 positions in the space of 1 corner. So it looks like Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel are having a little bit of a battle behind us. Hopefully we get a replay of what exactly happened to Massa through that corner there. And here we go, replay of Massa. So he goes down in towards turn 7, just locks up, can't get the car turned in, goes off the track, then has a collision with Sebastian Vettel. That puts both those drivers side by side to go in towards turn 8 and turn 9, but I think Massa just about gets position. No, Sebastian Vettel holds it on the inside in towards that little kink there, and oh, looks like the Williams there gets a better exit. I thought Sebastian Vettel was going to get the position, but he gets bogged down on the exit of the corner. He can't quite get the power down as early as Felipe Massa can, and Massa retakes the position over Sebastian Vettel there. So we're now putting Kevin Magnussen under some pressure in the battle for 5th place in this Singapore Grand Prix. Right behind Kevin Magnussen now, as we pull over to the left hand side, inside line in towards turn 7. We've seen this so many times in this race already, and once again it's a fairly simple move over the Renault driver as we move up into P5 now. So good overtake over Kevin Magnussen, and there we are, gaining another position. But we need to catch up to Max Verstappen, because currently he is running away with this race. Jolyon Palmer, he comes into the pits. We gain another position, move up into P4. Just 1 place off the podium positions now, and we can see Pascal Wehrlein just a little bit up the road. But Max Verstappen going through the kink of turn 6 now. He is destroying this race right now. He is absolutely destroying it. But here we go, Pascal Wehrlein, he is currently coming to the pits, and so has the Toro Rosso of Danny Kvyat. That puts us up into P2. So we are running a really good race at the moment, and only being caught out by strategy, because Max Verstappen being able to do that one stopper, because he started on the super soft tyres where we had to start on the ultra softs. He has really got the better of the strategy here today. But we're going to be putting in some good qualifying laps right now to try and catch up to the Red Bull drivers. We're watching on board with Nico Rosberg. He's hunting down his teammate of Lewis Hamilton. Oh no, he's not going to be able to do that, as he's had an engine failure here on lap 23. Really disappointing to do 23 laps of this Singapore Grand Prix, and to be let down by an engine failure. So disappointing there for Nico Rosberg, and the safety car has been deployed. That is such good news for a race here today. When we were thinking about possibly coming into the pits because of that. Just look how slow we are driving right now. We are thinking right now, do we come into the pits? Do we come into the pits? But at the end of the day, I saw how close the rest of the field were behind me. If I pitted, I would have been down in 10th place or lower. I would have completely dropped down the field, and being on the ultra soft tyres for the last 5 laps, it wouldn't have really meant anything. So it was better to stay on the super soft tyres. I'm right behind Max Verstappen. I'm on a better set of tyres, but the wear on both sets of tyres is probably very similar at this stage of the race, because obviously the super softs wear a lot quicker than the softs do, but he's had his soft tyres for a bit longer than we've had these super softs. So it is quite close in terms of tyre wear and stuff like that. But here we are on the safety car restart, and unfortunately it's a bad safety car restart from us. Look at the gap that Max Verstappen has already got, over 4/10 of a second. Then we lock up down in towards turn 1, and that's because we put our brake bias up more to the front on the safety car period, so that we don't wear out the rears too much, and we can sort of get the tyre wear even on the fronts and the rears. Because around Singapore, because it's all about traction, you burn up the rears so much quicker than you burn up the fronts, and unfortunately that made us look up down and towards turn and lose us a little bit more time to Max Verstappen. But fortunately we didn't actually get overtaken by the Ferrari who was running behind. So we're watching on board with Kimi Räikkönen now down in towards this left hand. He's been overtaken by a Sauber. He's going side by side with a Renault, but it's not going to matter at all, as Kimi Räikkönen is out of today's race. I said Nico Rosberg would be frustrated with getting DNF on lap 23. Kimi Räikkönen's going to feel even worse on lap 29 of this Singapore Grand Prix, not being able to finish. And there we are right behind Max Verstappen now. And the problem that we were having towards the end of this race was that we just didn't have the traction out of corners. We get so close to Max Verstappen through sector 3, and as soon as we got to the final 2 corners, I put my foot down, and there just was no power at all from the rears. So it's really unfortunate, but here we are right behind Max Verstappen. This is probably our best opportunity so far that we have had in today's race, and maybe if we didn't cut that corner, we may be even closer right now. But here we are using the slipstream, using the DRS up the inside. No, we just can't brake late enough compared to Max Verstappen. But when we have a look up the inside, we've done that before. We're just not close enough. We are not close enough to Max Verstappen. Somehow he is just about keeping it ahead of us as we go through this little left-hander down in towards the Singapore Sling now, right behind Max Verstappen. Can we do anything in this race to get the race win, or will Max Verstappen beat us 2 races in a row? Here we are right behind Max Verstappen now, and unfortunately we can't go for a move just through there. But cutting ahead to the end of lap 31 now, so it's all or nothing right now. It is all or nothing. We need to beat Max Verstappen in order to get the race win. We need to overtake him, otherwise it's only going to be 18 points. But it's still a good amount of points gained on Nico Hülkenberg, so we're not gonna risk anything at all. But we would still really like to get that race win over Max Verstappen. We can't let him beat us 2 races in a row here. As we go down in towards the last sector now, you can see our tyres are really starting to fall away from us, especially on the rears. The power out of the corners, you can just see we're slipping all over the place. It's like driving on ice at the moment. We're also trying to keep the the McLaren of Fernando Alonso behind us. There we go, once again losing the back end. It looks like though Max Verstappen is going to win today's Singapore Grand Prix. It's a great result for the Dutch driver. That's 2 races back to back. He wins the Singapore Grand Prix. We get a 2nd place. It's still 18 points gained, and that is a lot of points gained on Nico Hülkenberg as well, and we can certainly be very happy with that. A nice race there then at the Singapore Grand Prix, a track which we have struggled at over the years. So it is really nice to finally get on the podium here at the Singapore Grand Prix. Unfortunately, it was only 2nd place. We started in pole and we only finished 2nd. But Max Verstappen with that strategy call, doing the 1-stopper, so much better compared to our 2-stop strategy. So unfortunately, we do lose out to Max Verstappen. But still, it's 18 points in today's race, and that is 10 points gained. No, 8 points gained, sorry, over Nico Hülkenberg, who finishes down in 5th place. But Max Verstappen, he is our race winner today, beating us by 8/10 of a second, with Fernando Alonso finishing in 3rd, Sebastian Vettel 4th, Nico Hülkenberg in 5th, Jenson Button 6th, Danny Kvyat finishes in 7th, with Esteban Gutierrez 8th, Pascal Wehrlein 9th, Carlos Sainz getting the final World Championship point, with Jolyon Palmer and Romain Grosjean just missing out on the top 10. Looking further down the field then, Rio Haryanto, he finishes in 13th, with Lewis Hamilton in 14th, Kevin Magnussen down in 15th despite starting 6th on the grid, with Valtteri Bottas 16th, Felipe Massa 17th, Marcus Ericsson 18th, Felipe Massa in 19th. Then we have our 3 DNFs of Kimi Räikkönen, Nico Rosberg and Daniel Ricciardo, who all had engine failures here today. Drivers' Championship then, and that 8 points gained over Nico Hülkenberg has increased our lead to 21 points over our teammate. We are on 222 points. He's on 201. So it looks like both our drivers are going to reach the 200-point marks for this season. Can we get 300 points though? Can we get 300 points this season? That would be a really, really good achievement for both of us. And there's Carlos Sainz, 72 points behind us now in the championship, pretty much confirming that his championship hopes are over. And finally, in the Constructors' Championship, we now have 192 points over Toro Rosso at this very late stage of the season. As McLaren Honda move above Renault, and Red Bull move up into 5th place as well. If you go back to like 5 races ago, they were down in 10th or 9th position in the Constructors' Championship. Now, however, they've moved up into 5th. What else can they do in this season? Because their season has really come alive towards the end. But that is it for today's Singapore Grand Prix. If you have enjoyed the episode, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, share the video with your friends, and I will see you next time at the Malaysian Grand Prix. But until then, it's goodbye from me.